Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. I don't know if you fans of the Indians are scoreboard watching, but I can tell you the Minnesota Twins are. The old philosopher Satchel Paige once said, "Don't look back, somebody may be gaining on you." That somebody is the Cleveland Indians, now just 7 games back with 3 games to open up the second half of the season in Cleveland against Minnesota, with a total of 13 games against each other the rest of the way. The Indians are starting to hit, and the Twins are forgetting how to pitch. Take a look at the Indians' schedule after the Twins series. It's a pretty easy 10-game stretch. If the Indians think it's more important to tell you about dollar hot dogs instead of telling you the second half begins with a series against Minnesota, then I'll tell you. Plenty of good seats are still available. The D-man Dennis-Manoloff is here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine in its 23rd consecutive year, soon to be 24, and of course seen exclusively now on cleveland.com. The D-man, Dennis-Manoloff, is with us. It's been a week, D-man. Have you gotten over the shock and the ecstasy of Rocky Colavito referring to you as the D-man?
Not yet, and I'm still riding high on that, yes.
Yeah, he was fun. He'll be honored on Friday, yeah. Here they come. You're talking about the tribe behind Minnesota. Don't tell anybody. They're watching. 7 games.
As of taping, and by the way, I foresee an Athletics victory tonight in Oakland over the Twins. Kyle Gibson pitching. You don't know really if you want to root too hard for Oakland because they could be a wild card pest. But as you say, when you get it to a realistic number in the division, you say, all right, anybody that's playing the division leader is the team you want, is you're rooting for.
Absolutely. So
here come the Indians.
I was hoping the Indians would be 5 or 6 back at the All-Star game, and that looks like that might be what it's going to be.
It's a very realistic possibility. I say I'm going to say they split in Cincinnati right before the end of the half. You got to take at least one of the next 2 against Kansas City. So I know 2-2 is not great in the in the scheme of things, especially against bad teams, but it's possible that the deficit's 6, if for no other reason than the Twins keep losing. They just put Jake Odorizzi on the injured list.
Right. I don't think he's supposed to lose more than 1 start, though.
Okay. Well, I noticed Nelson Cruz, unless my eyes deceive me, was not in the lineup tonight. I don't know exactly what his situation is. I haven't been following the Twins lineup every day, but I have been looking at them in the standings. Unless, honestly, the way this team looked even, 5 weeks ago, if you would have told me that they would be 7 out at this moment, I would have said, well, go on, head to the jack.
Right.
Because I don't see it. And yet here they are.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. The D-man, Dennis-Manoloff, is with us. Let's also turn our attention to the Browns. David Njoku in the news a little bit. I wish these guys would just forget that Hue Jackson was a terrible coach. And somebody just leave it alone. Why bring it up again?
100% agree. I think it's much ado about nothing on Njoku's part, and I don't think we should even give it much more than just looking at the quote.
Yeah. I mean, basically what he said, and here it is, kind of a long quote, but we will read it for you. Obviously, we weren't happy about what Hugh said about us after he left. It's what Baker didn't appreciate it, and we came together after Hugh left and took it upon ourselves to work extra hard to finish the year strong. Baker has a voice, as we all do, and he didn't appreciate what happened. It's not like we are robots and we feel in a way disrespected. Well, you know what? Move on from it. Hue Jackson's not your coach anymore, and you're in a better place.
It's possible, and I did not listen to the Rich Eisen show, so it's entirely possible Njoku was asked a direct question about Hue Jackson.
Yeah, he was.
And about, okay, and what, so in fairness to Njoku, he's like, well, what do you want me to do? Be dishonest in my answer or
and if
one
he
or
doesn't
two word
answer,
answer?
and if he doesn't answer, then local people go after him.
Yeah, it'll fuel more conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Oh, what's he hiding? So in one sense, I understand, I guess, that he had to answer the question. But you're right, Les. This is so tired. Hue Jackson seems like he's 20 years ago. If the Browns derive motivation still from Hue Jackson, then they've got issues. Okay?
Guys like Njoku, though, they should get some satisfaction out of the fact that they were 0-16 and 1-15, and now look, they're in a position where a lot of people are talking playoffs and maybe even better than that. They should be grateful for that, I would think.
Yeah, and I mean, but the fact remains, even though they did make a significant improvement last year over the previous 2 years, still 7-8-1, all right? And didn't threaten for a division title, didn't threaten for a playoff spot.
Basically,
and
what you're saying, they've done nothing to earn what they're getting.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying I'm not glad that the Browns are receiving a lot of attention. I'm excited about the Browns' upcoming season. I can't wait for training camp. But you can understand where the rest of the league says, why are these guys the darlings of the NFL? They haven't done anything. They haven't proven anything. And to be fair, the Browns players have said the same thing. And their coaches. We haven't, and John-Dorsey, we haven't done anything. But, it makes you a little uneasy if you ever hear of players living off of 7-8-1. That's a little bit disconcerting.
Sure, and you're with a quarterback who didn't even play a full year, broke in Game 3, right?
Yes, and
but that's what our optimism is based on, the quarterback. The fact that for 20 years we haven't had a quarterback here, we finally have what we believe is the right guy, and maybe are we giving him too much to fall back on, or too much? Are we giving him too much to live up to?
The Browns?
Yeah.
It's entirely possible because they are an unproven above 500 commodity, okay? But, again, I'd rather be in the news than not in the news. I'd rather be polarizing than apathetic.
Right.
Or a source of apathy. So we'll see. But I think it's more than just Baker Mayfield, Les. Yes, if you don't have the quarterback, you really don't have anything in this league. But I think optimism also comes from John Dorsey, who certainly appears like he knows what he's doing, and his front office. Guys like Myles Garrett doing their ridiculous jumping onto boxes 3.5 feet off the ground with dumbbells in their hands. I mean, you look at a Myles Garrett and you're like, okay, I can really get behind that on defense. And, of course, the offseason acquisition of OBJ, who brings a magnetism all of himself. He's his own orb.
Well, here's the problem.
Yes, sir.
And that is that these other teams in the division, on paper, we think Cleveland's better than Cincinnati, obviously.
Yes.
And at least even or better against Pittsburgh and as well as Baltimore. Yet, I think those other teams get to say, hey, Browns, you have no reason to talk. You haven't done anything yet. When you do something, let's talk.
Exactly, especially if you're the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens have been nicked up by the Browns along the way.
A little bit.
Steelers have barely been touched by the Browns
How
in the Roethlisberger
about when you think that
era.
Roethlisberger has more wins than any other quarterback in the AFC, well, any other quarterback at the Browns Stadium, First Energy?
Yeah, and, the Steelers would be like, okay, until you've beaten us at least once in a season, or, I'm sure that's happened once since '99, but, yeah, the Steelers like, well, we'll take note of you when you're leading the division with 2 games left.
Right.
But, again, it's not the Browns' fault necessarily that everybody wants to talk about them and wants to see them and is optimistic about them.
No, but it's their fault if they don't put it in the right baggage area.
I would say that it is the Browns' fault if they continue to live off of anything that had to do with 7-8-1, meaning motivation drawn from Hue Jackson. Or Greg Williams, for that matter, because we've heard some players on the current roster ripping Greg Williams. Who cares about Greg Williams?
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis-Manoloff is with us from WTAM 1100. cleveland.com. Coming up, well, you got Kareem-Hunt, you've got Duke Johnson. Hold off on trading Duke Johnson.
Yeah.
You never know when you're going to need somebody in that position, or better than that. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. Faye, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. A little bit later, we'll get to some of your responses. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Today is the 3rd of July. Let's check out birthdays for the day. Former baseball player Buddy Rozar, born in 1914. Adam Zappel, 1947. Frank Tanana, the left-hander. Greg Vaughn. Moises Salou, who I was thinking about him the other day in the Bartman game at Wrigley. And Edinson Volquez, all born on the 3rd of July. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis-Manoloff is here.
Yeah, Moises, I wanted to comment on him. You're right. He's obviously front and center of Bartman. Some people have said, more than a few people have said, if he doesn't throw that tantrum, Bartram, Bartman is not going to be pilloried.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're Moises and you're sure you were going to catch it, you thought you were robbed. K-Love is on the Cubs. We forget. Kenny Lofton was playing for the Cubs, and, he...
year?
Yeah, he was right there in the Bartman game. Lofton was on, I think, 6 different teams in the postseason.
Okay.
But the other thing about Moises, I'll always say he was absolutely robbed of the 1997 World Series MVP. Complete farce that Livan Hernandez won it. Moises, I think, 3 homers, 9 RBI. And the next year, or 2 years later, or something like that, when we saw Moises again at Progressive Field, what was Jacobs Field then? He just was shaking his head when we were talking to him.
Still couldn't believe it.
He couldn't believe he didn't get World Series MVP. I don't blame him.
Well, if they put the wireless or the wired fences out, that play never happens. The Bartman play.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, if you extend him all the way to
he never
to
gets
the foul
into the
pole,
stands.
he never gets there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've always thought on the Bartman situation that if you look at those pictures, there's 5 or 6 other people trying to make the play, right?
One of them in particular is a very lucky man. They introduced him, or they interviewed him in the documentary, in the 30 for 30. The guy basically right next to him does the same thing Bartman does.
I would say most fans would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think fans, if they see a ball coming at them, a high pop-up like that, I don't think they sit there and say, wait a minute, which team is the one that hit it, and what do I do here? And what's the ruling on it? I don't think anybody would know it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Moises, if the fan clearly breaches the imaginary line between stands and field.
Which Bartman did not.
Exactly. Then you say, okay, Moises, you got a real point for your temper tantrum.
And it's the umpire's problem if he didn't call it.
Yeah, but the fact is Moises was reaching in, and it looked like he was going to catch it. But I always thought Bartman was completely – his life was destroyed for absolutely no reason.
All right, let's go back to Kareem Hunt and Duke Johnson.
Yes. Any questions as to why the Browns still have Duke Johnson Jr.?
No, there's no question at all. There's the answer right there, because they're not sure about him, and they also aren't sure about other injuries somewhere along the line, and which could happen. However, what bothers me most about the Kareem Hunt situation is that when he signed here, I kept hearing from callers that, well, it's a good thing he's in Cleveland because his family and friends will take care of him. If his friends took care of him, they would make sure he wasn't out at night in any situation. I know he didn't, at this moment, we don't know that he's done anything or hasn't done anything, but it seems to me he needs some friends to get him away from that situation.
Well, and remember, too, the biggest trouble he got into that led to the 8-game suspension and the cutting by the Chiefs last year occurred in Cleveland. So I don't buy that Cleveland is a safe haven for him or a haven for him. I think safe haven is redundant. But clearly the situation with Hunt, I said this on the radio show the other day on TAM. Regardless of whether any report was written up, anything was filed, and it appears it hasn't been. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if he didn't do anything. Just the fact that video exists of you standing there talking to a policeman outside of an establishment in downtown late at night.
Where something happened.
That's all you need to know that it doesn't look good. And Kareem Hunt at this point cannot afford even the perception that something is up.
Well, he won't be able to afford anything. If it happens, if something happened or does happen in the future, he's totally out of his salary. Browns are not obligated to him.
Kareem, you are not able, by virtue of your profession and your suspension, you're not able to do whatever you want to do. You're not able to live your life like everybody else. I hear that all the time. Well, he's got to be able to live his life like every... No.
Well, no. He's allowed to. He just doesn't have to be employed by an NFL team.
Well, there you go. That's the thing. There are conditions to the life that Kareem Hunt leads now. He can't just go where he wants to go, whenever he wants to go, and do whatever he wants to do, unless, as you just pointed out, he doesn't want to be employed by the NFL anymore.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to play football, he can go do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
All right, so what does it mean as far as Duke Johnson is concerned?
It means hold on to him. Hold on to Duke. And I'm not, all right, when I say that, it's like you expecting Kareem Hunt to have another, a potential issue.
Oh, you have to think it's possible. If you're John Dorsey, don't you think it's very possible over the next 20 weeks?
For those who say it was nothing, well, it was nothing enough to have the Browns talk to Kareem about it, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that in all the reports?
Sure.
So if it got the Browns' attention, that's too much attention, all right? Even if it's innocent. Even if you didn't do anything. So Duke Johnson, to me, needs to remain a Cleveland Brown for a number of reasons. Not just Kareem Hunt, but as you said, overall depth. And oh, by the way, Duke Johnson can play, okay?
Yeah.
He's a good NFL player. Not a great one, not headed for the Hall.
Not a starter.
And not a great running back. He's not a bell cow running back. You're not going to give him the ball 20 times a game in between the tackles. But Duke Johnson, I call him the Swiss Army knife. I'm not the only one. Could do a lot of different things. He can give you, production in the slot if you need to, out of the backfield, arrow routes. There's plenty of things that Duke Johnson can do to help your club. And you're not just keeping a guy around for posterity.
And my guess is the Browns know that they need him more than any other team might because he's already in the system.
And he's under contract.
He's under contract.
And I mean, Duke Johnson is not going to want to sit out this year.
Right.
So they have him under contract. I don't think
he was
Duke
pretty
Johnson,
happy when he signed the contract.
But he didn't know that, obviously, that Chubb was going to emerge, and he didn't know they were going to go get Hunt. But the NFL is so much about attrition that, in my opinion, you can never have enough skill position players unless you have to get rid of them. Unless you absolutely must get rid of them. You don't have to do that in the Johnson case, therefore he stays a Cleveland Brown.
Catch the live excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday evening. Post time is 6 p.m., and it's open early every day at noon for simulcast action from all over the world. Weekly Sunday handicapping contest, grand prize each week, $500 in cash. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Coming up, are the Indians closing the gap on the Minnesota Twins? I think so. So does the D-Man. Exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
My basement was a disaster. We tried carpet, we tried tile on our uneven basement floor, but nothing worked.
Moisture, dampness, even flooding will not harm Nature Stone. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of June and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at nick-chubb. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. This came up during my radio shift today. How come if a 10-year-old won't take a nap, he could be jailed for resisting arrest?
Wow, that's a good one.
Excellent. Excellent. No question about that. We'll get to some more How Come Quickies a little bit later. All right, Jake Odorizzi goes to the IL with a blister on his throwing hand. That's the Minnesota Twins. They don't expect him to lose more than a start, but who knows with that?
Blisters are pesky.
Yeah.
Ask any major league pitcher, they'll tell you.
Former Red Sox infielder Johnny was pesky also.
Yes, he was.
Johnny Pesky.
Got to interview him. It was awesome.
Did you really?
Yes.
All right, this season, 17 games for Odorizzi. I always think of, I'll have 2 eggs over easy, please.
Wow.
88 2/3 innings, 10-4 record, 3.15 ERA, 96 strikeouts, 30 walks, and the opponent's average 214, which is awfully good. And their pitching is not that deep either. I don't know if they can afford to lose him for more than a game.
I mean, Odorizzi and Martin Perez have really carried the water for that staff. And, our buddy J. Lou, Jensen Lewis, has said along the way here, the Twins have not faced real adversity yet. Now, they were without Cruz for an a decent amount of time, several weeks. But, yeah, I mean, they have not been hit by anywhere near what the injuries the Indians have been hit with. So we'll see how they handle this and how they handle being front runners. But I thought a couple of weeks ago they might be leading the division by 12, 13 games. Yeah. And now it's 7.
Let's see if they could coast in. They're not coasting.
The weird part about baseball, Les, is those 2 games in Baltimore. It was like aliens infected the Indians' clubhouse and the Indians' bodies.
You're playing great ball.
How that happened?
You go on the road and go 13-0 and 13-0. I thought the Plain Dealer had a great headline the second day, and it said, "No, you're not reading yesterday's paper. It happened again."
I mean,
what an odd number.
Les, they were playing well, and don't give me this, they had an off day. Oh, please. Plenty of teams that have been hot have an off day and stay hot, okay? They play well, they have an off day, they go to Baltimore, or they're in Baltimore on their off day, play the worst team in the league. Not me saying it, Not you saying it, the record says it. Home runs flying out of Camden Yards by the opposition. The Indians go 0-0 and 2 runs in the series. Thank goodness for Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
I said, Les, on the show, on the radio show the other day, TM, we may look back at that Shane Bieber start on Sunday as a watershed moment in this season. If the Indians wind up, track. Because you get swept by the Orioles, let's say Bieber has an okay start, gives up 3 runs in 5 innings. They lose, right?
Yep.
You get swept by the Orioles, who knows what happens? You may have your dauber so far down that you're not ready to play Kansas City. But that win on Sunday was enormous psychologically.
No question about it. You know what I've seen? I've seen it with the Indians. I saw it with Kansas City last night. Teams are throwing the ball all over the field. You've got the base running that's atrocious. You had a guy, they're down by 3 runs for Kansas City, and there's a horrible throw from center field from Mercado, and Ramirez made a nice play on it. But guys trying to score when they're down by 3 and nobody out in the inning.
Les, I'm not trying to make excuses. This may sound like an excuse. It's not. It's just based in reality. When you play a game that is so geared towards swinging for the fences, home runs, walks, strikeouts.
You're going to tell me they forget the other stuff?
I'm not saying they forget it, but it's not as prevalent in their conscious mind. So that when they get on the bases, they're not used to this.
If you're down by 3 and the ball is being thrown all over the place, Mercado throws it down the left field line and Ramirez has to change it. Unless you can walk home, you shouldn't be trying to score.
Agreed.
You should never be the first out at home plate.
Right,
Never,
that's why
ever.
I'm not excusing base running blunders again, but I'm saying if you haven't been in a run and stun, constant movement on the bases mode, then maybe it's a little more difficult when you have to think it through.
Maybe difficult, but it's got to be done the right way.
Right.
All right, so if Odorizzi's out for a little bit, the Indians' success still lies in what it's lied in all year, and that's Jose-Ramirez as well as Jason-Kipnis.
Yeah.
Looks like they're starting to come out of it. I don't know at what point do you say that they are out of it, but here's Ramirez. Look at this. And the team wins 46 games versus 35, hitting .230 when they win and 198 when they lose, 5 homers against 0 homers, 28 RBIs against 3, and 14 stolen bases against 4. How do you justify this? These are unbelievable numbers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously what we said all along is that, of course, you need Santana and Lindor, no secret. But the 2 guys that really must play well for the Indians to realize their dreams are Kipnis and Ramirez.
Well, here's Kipnis. Look at this, 35 wins, 29 losses, hitting .280 in the wins, 196 in the losses, 6 homers when they win, 0 when they lose, 28. Look, this is crazy. 28 RBIs versus 3 and 18 runs scored versus 4.
Yeah.
What is that?
You know, some people look at that and say, oh, what does he do? Only hit when they win? No. He doesn't know they're going to win the game when he's getting hits.
True.
It simply means that the Indians have a better chance of winning when Ramirez and Kipnis are hitting.
That's true.
And sometimes it goes for other guys more than their teammate. You know, and certainly in the case of Kipnis.
Well, the difference is Kipnis was, until Mercado came along, he was the second batter, and Ramirez was the third for the most part.
Yes, and I'll say this about last night. Granted, it's Royals pitching. All right. But I liked what I was seeing from Jake Bauers going the other way, the willingness to go the other way. Because if these guys start to think, you know what, just give me a knock against the shifted defense.
Then they'll have to take it away. They'll have to take the shift away.
Again, I know it's not a singles game anymore.
It's so simple. If you take the shift away, that gives you a hole where you normally hit the ball.
I've said this about Jose Ramirez. I know Frankie Lindor wanted him to hit homers to get out of his slump. He says, well, Ramirez could hit singles in his sleep. Please do.
Start going to sleep.
Jose Ramirez has the speed to turn the single into a double.
Correct.
I want Jose Ramirez in scoring position instead of in the dugout.
Great point. We have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. All you have to do is call it. You can call that 24 hours a day. You can have a question, a comment, just to say hello, whatever you want to do. 216-200-6650. Call anytime and leave a message. Try to keep it short, and we'll use the best messages in future shows. That's 216-200-6650, the voicemail of Truth and Reason. When we come back, we'll talk about Trevor-Bauer some more. Trevor-Bauer. Trevor-Bauer has an idea what to do with his fastball. You'll be interested in hearing that. You'll hear it when we get back. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
it takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
This date in sports history, July 3rd, 2002, Indian slugger Jim Thome hit a home run in his 7th consecutive game, that one coming off lefty David Wells of the Yankees. Other pitchers in that streak included Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, and Pedro Martinez. How about that's murderer's row pitching-wise.
Wow. You got David Wells. All he did was throw a perfect game in his career, among other accomplishments. Clemens, he speaks for himself. One of the all-time greats, but obviously we know the PED controversy surrounding him. Schilling, borderline Hall of Famer, and Pete's already in. So, yeah, it was an amazing run for Thome. He'll be front and center on a lot of the all-star stuff this week and next, so that'll be exciting.
All right, so Trevor-Bauer says he's got a solution for people who are hitting on his fastball. He wants himself to throw more fastballs underneath the people's chins so they'll stop diving over the plate. Maybe if I drill a couple of those people in the ribs with fastballs, they'll stop leaning out over the plate. I don't know. When guys are getting hits off 97-mile-an-hour fastballs, 8 inches off the plate away, and it tells you something. We'll make an adjustment. Someone's going to be on the bad end of that in the future, I guess, but it's what needs to happen. Well, first of all, he already leads the league, the majors in hitting batters with 13. Chris Sale is next with 10, and Spencer Turnbull with 9. Brad Keller with 9, Tanner Rourke, Cincinnati with 8, and Julio Teheran with 8 also. So he's putting everybody on warning he's going to throw at you, which is not a smart thing to do because if he throws at people, immediately there's a little bit of thought put into it.
Listen, I'm so tired of this guy. And yet, as a member of the media, I've always said I want guys to speak up. Go ahead, say stuff. I don't want Bauer to be quiet. But, if he thinks that is the reason he's getting hit around, okay, great. You're going to get your teammates in trouble. You're going to start something on purpose. Now they know.
You can go inside without going at somebody's head.
That's all that you hit it, Les. That's all he had to say. I need to do a better job of pitching in off the plate. You don't have to mention anything about hitting anybody.
No, hitting is the magic word.
That quote will be all over the place. And that'll be in the umpire's room,
and,
too.
And the umpires may look at a pitch and say, all right, he threw it inside, that's one thing. Now, if there's intent, who knows what they'll do?
Absolutely. You don't want to give anyone written or verbal proof of your intentions.
Yeah, and the Indians can't afford to have him tossed out, suspended.
No, especially when they want to trade him.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, you can't trade him. He's halfway through his suspension.
I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. If Bauer can bring a legitimate stick in here, a major league stick plus a couple of minor league sticks, I look into making the deal.
But
you can't just give them away.
Even if you're on the run and closing in on Minnesota,
yeah,
you would shake up things?
I get it. The conventional wisdom is you need Bauer to get where you want to go. But if you could beef up that offense instantaneously with a Bauer trade, I'd definitely consider it.
Sure. I mean,
and I'm not saying it because he's struggling right now. I'm saying it because the Indians were thinking about that last winter when he wasn't struggling. He was on the market.
It's true. Well, somebody's got to believe that he will give them a division title. Well, somebody has to believe that, and if they do believe it, they will give up something.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously the Yankees have been mentioned as a potential suitor. I would love for the Indians to pry Clint Frazier loose, get him out back here. I know he's had issues in the clubhouse, but I love the game. He's still young. Among other guys, okay? Among several other guys. It's Bauer for 4 or 5 players to
I mean,
make.
look at the difference when they put Mercado in, how that changed the entire offense. You're talking about one more guy can change it again.
And obviously they're hoping Bobby Bradley could.
Yeah. I was going to mention him. Everybody's screaming for him, just like the second-string quarterback who carries the clipboard around. Bobby Bradley was not instant offense when he came here, and he's struggling already. How much time do you give him?
At this moment, I don't know. They have to decide who's a better alternative. Do they have somebody that Bobby Bradley is blocking? If he's not blocking anybody to speak of, then you just let him
keep doing what he's doing.
Accustomed to Major League ABs. Because what do I think of? I think of a Jose. I'm sorry. Why am I blanking on him? The Brewers. Why am I all of a sudden losing them? The first baseman, Aguilar. Jose Aguilar. Looked overmatched here. Up, down. Finally move him out, and he catches fire with the Brewers. Now, I don't know how he's doing this year, but but the bottom line is he was a huge slugger for them for a couple of years. So right. I would be patient with Bradley if I could.
We've got no live shows until next Monday. The D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, will be switched that
Short week.
Short week for D-Man. He'll be here Monday when we do live shows again. And Sokolowski's University Inn, I'm sure they'll be with us. They've been with us 26 years. Why would they stop right now? Located in Tremont, 5 minutes out of downtown. Take the Abbey Avenue exit. Established in 1923 at that same location. Best view of downtown Cleveland anywhere. Open 11 to 3 Monday through Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. And of course, the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 restaurants in the country get that coveted award. Mike and Bernie won it about 3 years ago. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. We'll take a look at your Facebook question of the day, and we'll open up the lines. You can still get in, 216-575-0403. More Sports and Les-Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
I had an epoxy-based sand paint on my floor that deteriorated, and that's why I called Nature Stone.
Why paint? It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't last. Nature Stone is always affordable. It's beautiful, and with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at nick-chubb.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history. July 3rd, 1961. A fight breaks out at Chavez-Levine when neighbor Allen gets hit by a pitch. He was in a wiffle ball game. Tempers flared. Let's look at the week in review, since this is our last live show of the week. July 1st, 2007, when thousands of midges attacked Yankee pitcher Jabba Chamberlain. Les thought the umpires should invoke the infield fly rule. A lot of flies in the infield that night. Let's move on. When 1969, Les had a friend who was told by a doctor to walk 10 miles a day. 5 days later, his friend called Les and said he was 50 miles from home. 216-575-0403. What's the matter?
That's excellent. I want to go back to that first one, though, where the fight breaks out in the wiffle ball game. A message to parents, coaches. I'm getting tired of your acts on the amateur ball diamonds, okay? And some players to a degree, but mostly parents who should know better, both in the stands and the coaches. You take yourself way too seriously. This is ridiculous, the amount of negativity coming from parents in the stands, yelling at players, yelling at umps, coaches yelling at umpires like I witnessed last night after the game. The coach of a team that just run-ruled a team is yelling at an umpire, but he's too cowardly to yell directly at the base ump, the guy he's mad at. Yeah. So he tells the plate ump, in the receiving line, after the handshakes, tells the plate ump, that guy deserves a bleep kicking. To which I say, I was nearby, stunned that I heard it, tried to yell at the guy. Go get him then. Right?
Well,
you
just
just
said
said
the right guy.
He deserves a bleep kicking.
Yeah.
Go get him. Yeah. If you want him so bad, but no.
His fellow umpire's
He's the
not gonna do
cowardly coach who just says to the plate ump, that guy deserves a bleep kicking. He's terrible. And then he walks away.
Are these high school kids? What are they?
No, this was travel ball.
So who are the umps? Regular umps?
Yeah, just regular umpires doing a solid to good job.
Who make what, $30 a game?
Yeah, and this coach, and again, the team I had the rooting interest in, my wife Denise's son plays. Yeah. His team got run ruled, okay? You can say, well, you're bitter. No, we got trucked. That team was really good. And guess what? Really well coached by that guy.
And I'll tell you what, when that stuff starts happening, the kids, the child of the perpetrator there, plus his friends, they don't want any part of that. They may be walking away from baseball and never want to play it again.
What kind of an example does it set? I was all ready to compliment their kids and the coaching staff for a job well done.
And then
because he did a good job getting his team ready to play. And then he's got to do that to the umpire.
All right, the day before the All-Star game takes place, which will be on Tuesday, the day before is Monday, and it'll be the MLB Futures games. You know anything about Daniel the Jet Johnson and Nolan Jones?
I've definitely heard about Daniel Johnson. Yeah, he's legit.
Well, let's take a look at it. Daniel Johnson, right fielder for the Columbus Clippers, 5th-round pick in 2016 by Washington, and he's 23 years old, right now hitting .275, 14 homers and 55 RBIs in 74 games. This season split between AA and AAA, so that would be Akron as well as Columbus. So let's take a look at Nolan Jones, see what we have here. 2nd pick by the Indians in 2016. 3rd baseman playing for the Lynchburg Hillcats. It's Class A advance. He's a big guy, 6'4", 185, 21 years old, hitting .286, 6 homers and 38 RBIs, 5 stolen bases in 74 games. Looks like he can do it all. I mean, a little early to make a judgment.
That's early in his career, no question about it. But Johnson I've heard a lot about, just as I was hearing about Bradley and Mercado. And the Indians, I mean, again, they get knocked, and those of us who try to defend them get accused of being in the tank and Kool-Aid drinkers. But, I mean, this has been a consistently good organization for a while. Certainly since Francona came on board.
And you can rip them for not making moves early on or not signing some people. But look at the pitchers that they've gotten into the system, however they've gotten to them. They're up here producing already.
Well, and they kind of remind me less of the way the Tampa Bay Rays do things. Because we know the Rays don't have that bottomless pit. They certainly don't have the ballpark to be their revenue stream. So they've had to figure out ways to get it done in other ways. They've had to be really sharp with their acquisitions.
And they're in the same division as New York and Boston.
Right, and I'm not saying it's always worked out for the Rays. Okay, they've had some really terrible years in the last 10. But they've had some years where you said, wow, where did they get these guys? How is it that the Rays are such a pipeline for pitching? The Indians have a system that they've been able to replenish and has supplied them with major league talent over the last, certainly again in the Tito era.
We have a
since 13.
Facebook question of the day. That question is, if you could attend one MLB All-Star event this year, which would it
That's
be?
Easy.
What's that?
The Derby.
The
Home run
Derby. That's what Rick May says. I would attend the Home Run Derby. Having Carlos Santana in the Derby would give me somebody to cheer for. Afterward, I would cross my fingers and hope that his swing is not messed up for the second half of the season. You really think that happens?
There have been studies done on it, Rick, and the rest of the listenership, viewership. It's a really almost a 50-50 split, depending on how you want to parse the numbers, because it can be difficult to do that, a direct correlation, because you could say, well, a guy was really hot in the first half.
Right.
I mean, there are plenty of players who are super hot in the first half, don't go to the home run derby, and their production falls off. But they did a study. Some guys, it seemed, were affected by it, but other guys not only continued their home run pace, but exceeded it in the second half after the derby.
Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. You can enjoy the excitement of harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as well as Saturday evening with the post time of 8 p.m., or 6 p.m. rather. Early opening every day at noon for simulcast action, weekly Sunday contest. Handicapping, top prize $500 cash, that's each week. Lady Luck's Clubhouse is open every Saturday with a buffet for just $15.95. And of course, it's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. The D-Man and I return one more time. I think we've got some emails to look at. We're seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
My basement was a disaster. We tried carpet, we tried tile on our uneven basement floor, but nothing worked.
Moisture, dampness, even flooding will not harm Nature Stone. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of June and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at nick-chubb.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
You can follow us on Facebook, ms&ll on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. And new content is posted each and every day.
I'll take your word for it.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Should we take a look at some emails?
Absolutely.
Got a whole stack of them.
Are these the How Come Quickies?
They will be mixed in here. First, Toledo Mike writes, and we didn't get into this discussion, but we could have, although it'll be too late when we get back here on Monday night. He says, I'm boycotting the All-Star game. The cost was too high, and we had to give up Chief Wahoo. Hopefully in 2 years we'll have a new one drawn by Native Americans selected by the fans and representing the 6 tribes of Ohio. Long live the chief. Let me tell you something. You'll never get 100% of the people to agree on any new design, so you may as well just forget about it.
Speaking of All-Star games, Fox Sports Time Ohio had the 81 All-Star game on the other day. Fabulous to watch. The stars that were in that game, just unbelievable.
Players
Lenny
were out
Barker.
of shape.
What's that?
Players were out of shape because they hadn't worked out during the strike. It was the first game back after the strike,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, well, we were lucky to have it. Yeah, we almost lost it because the
was
strike
in
dragged on
August.
too long. Lenny with two scoreless. Strikeout of Parker was epic. Just a awesome night.
All right, this from Mike. It's for Dennis. He says, hey, Les and Dennis, probably more for Dennis since he spent time interviewing Bob Feller. Which starting pitcher, injured or not, on the Indians would Feller like or be similar in pitching ways? Thanks, Mike and Canton. I watched the show on YouTube. Can
Which
you think of
pitcher on
anybody?
the current Indians
First of all,
roster?
you don't see anybody with the high leg kick like Feller
No.
had.
Which pitcher would be similar to the most
Yeah.
similar to Feller?
Yeah.
Well, you would have to say Bauer because of the rubber arm, because of the ability to throw a lot of pitches, the high velocity. I would say Bauer would be the closest to Feller out of
Yeah,
all of
I
them.
would agree with you on that. This from M. Hoff, and he says, it's Mitch from Kent. Here's a 47 birthday, Doug Outs. How come you can tune a piano but not tune a fish? What did the devil say to the angel food cake? We could be marbleless together. Have a great Fourth.
Didn't like the last one. Like the second one, didn't like the last
Peggy
one.
Mayer has been an excellent contributor to this. How come if you glue a wasp to your palm, you can smack your boss on the back of his head as hard as you want and act like you just saved him from getting stung? I would call HR if that happened, but what do I know?
What company are you working for?
Mr. Gullible, how come when my grandfather yelled to warn everybody on the Titanic about the iceberg, they threw him out of the theater? What? How come Forrest Gump's email password is one Forrest run? Run, Forrest, run. I get that one. John Patrick, here we go, D-Man. Daily double here. How come the price of dog food went up 50 cents a can? That's $3.50 in dog money.
That's nice.
How come the only thing I learned from late night TV is that I ought to go to bed earlier? Listen, you can't...
Overall, the batch was not
Yeah.
up to snuff.
I had 10 minutes of quickies on radio today. I gave it a B+. I mean, you can't be great every day.
No. Some were good, but...
You got any closing comments here? We got about 3-4 minutes.
No, I mean, I'm excited about the Indians at least being relevant. I mean, yes, they didn't win the World Series a couple of years ago. I get it, 2016. But the fact is, I want to see relevancy as long as possible. I want to see a team. If you're not going to win the World Series, at least try to be relevant for as many years as you can.
I feel so much the same as you do. Like last night, I go home and say, there's no game to watch. I don't like that.
Yeah, and think about the alternative. You have people in this town who are picky all of a sudden about their playoff team or about the look of their team. Well, this team doesn't feel or look like a playoff team. Really? That's where we are now? We're nitpicking about whether a team's worthy of being in the playoff
If they
hunt?
saw other teams play all the time, they'd feel the same way about those teams.
Well, not only that, Les, if they grew up when we grew up. I mean, well, you got to see the 54.
Yeah, and the great
title.
Yankee teams of the 50s and 60s.
But I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and it was lean after lean year after lean. We were happy when the Indians cut their AL East deficit to 20 games, okay? Now you got a team that's mathematically in both races, much more so the wild card, granted, but closing in the division. And you're sitting here going, we should just flush this year because this team doesn't look like a playoff team.
I'll tell you what, and I'm somewhat a purist, but I'm ready to change if need be. And I've said this, that if you want to improve on baseball, get people more excited about it, go have 2 halves of each season. Like right now, instead of getting ready for the All-Star break, you'd be getting ready for opening day 2 and start it. And I don't especially like that idea, but I think fans would.
Les, that's where the 81 thing was so bizarre because it was 2 halves.
Yeah, that's the only way they could do it.
I mean, I think it would be fun, but they're never going to do it. I mean, they're just not.
Yeah, but if you're a team that hasn't played well and because of injuries, let's say.
Reset button.
Then all of a sudden you reset, you have, I don't know.
The winner, the best record of the first half, I think.
Well, there's ways of working that out.
Gets an automatic buy of some sort.
And if the Indians marketing department had some creativity, they could have a second opening day.
Well, you make a point too, though, about this upcoming series with the Twins.
Yeah.
Please, I want to see Indians versus Twins, not hot dogs.
Don't get me started.
That's one of your pet peeves. But
it is one of my
You're dead
pet
on here because the Indians are in it, and they're going to be facing the Twins.
Let's see if they have their commercials talking about the weekend. Let's see if they emphasize dollar dogs and $2 beer, or if they say, hey, the division-leading Minnesota Twins are in for 3, and the Indians have a chance to chop into that lead. If they do anything but that, shame on them.
Yeah.
All right, in the meantime, I don't tell people how to spend their money, but you know what? It'll be a great weekend of action after the All-Star game. 3 games against Minnesota. It'll be great downtown. Continued fun downtown after the All-Star game. So, anything else you got?
Yeah, I mean, for the end of this week, with all the All-Star festivities, Mall B and Huntington and then everything, then the Monday, Tuesday, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because Sunday is the softball.
Right.
Monday's the Derby, which all the kids love. Tuesday's the game. And then, as you say, the closing out the week with the Twins series. 2 great weeks of baseball.
What are your duties on WTAM?
Plenty. A lot of duties downtown with the All-Star festivities from now, starting, not Thursday, Friday. Friday through Tuesday. And a couple more shows the following week. So.
Excellent. You're going to be here on Monday night of next week. All right, that'll do it for us. Great job by the D-Man, as always. Still on a high from being called D-Man by the Rocky Calavito. And it's great to see that he'll be back in town. I think he's coming in tomorrow. The show will be on Friday night at the State Theater. All right, that'll do it for us. I'll see you on Monday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.